Hi, I'm Maggie. I'm a senior here at Cedar Crest and a public health major.
I'm Megan Doherty. I'm a freshman nursing major.
Hi, my name's Tori.
My name is Hope. I am a senior and I am an English major.
Yeah, so growing up, life wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. My parents were divorced since I was really young. They divorced when I was 3, so I never grew up in a loving home. My older brothers and I didn't ever really get along, so I very oftentimes felt like the black sheep of the family, which was hard. And then school was hard too, because I didn't really fit in that well at school. I was kind of like that weird kid. So it was hard growing up. Definitely had my blessings, it could have been a lot worse, but it also wasn't fun either.
Growing up, I have 3 younger sisters and 2 wonderful parents. So very loving. Took me to church from the time I was born.
I grew up in a home that went to church on Sundays, but that was all we really did about religion. Didn't talk about it, didn't think about it otherwise. I was never quite cool enough as a kid to be with the cool kids, but I thought I was too cool to hang with the weird kids, so I never really had a place that I felt like I belonged. So I always felt like I was always striving to have people love me, and I would do anything to be liked, really.
Growing up, my family went to church, but we were a busy family. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad worked full-time. He was the one bringing in the income. My siblings and I were busy in school. I'm the oldest of 3. And we had a dog, and life was pretty crazy. My mom trying to keep being the main disciplinarian of our household, and my dad really not being home except for dinner hours. Moved a handful of times because of my dad's jobs, or just because we weren't happy with where we were living.
Jesus entered my story, graciously at a young age. I did grow up going to church, but it wasn't until I was older that I really understood who Jesus was. I always knew, that he existed, but that never really meant anything to me until I was older.
I personally met Jesus when I was about 5 years old. My parents were talking to me about heaven and what life will be like after we die, and that's when I learned of his forgiveness and grace, and since then I've been able to grow and strengthen my relationship with him.
College. I was tired. I was seeing hypocrisy in my friends, how we were just all using each other to feel loved and liked and to increase our popularity. And I was looking for substantial relationships, people who actually cared about me. And I was in a Bible study in college, and for the first time ever, I realized that I made myself God, and that God who created me and the whole world actually cared and had something to say. And I pretty much just did whatever the heck I wanted, and that broke God's heart. And I actually, because I totally disobeyed God, I deserved punishment. But I realized in college, in this Bible study, that it says in Romans 3, but God, in his mercy, sent Jesus to be stand in our place, take the punishment so that we could be forgiven. And then it totally revolutionized my life. Christianity was not at all what I thought. I thought it was about doing good things to please God, but it's about trusting Jesus who did good things so that I be made right with God.
Jesus entered my story when I was about, I'd say between the ages of 5 and 8. My parents grew up singing Jesus Loves Me to me before bed. My mom did not like to pray out loud, so I would pray when she would put me to bed. And when my dad put me to bed, he would pray, and he would sing a lullaby to me. And to this day, it still brings tears. And I would go to church every Sunday, and they would always talk about, Jesus' love for us. And I don't know if I quite understood it, what it really meant at that age, but I remember one Sunday leaning over to my mom and saying something, and I went forward to ask to be baptized. And I went through the baptism classes, and I was baptized in January 2005.
So now that I actually know who Jesus is and what he's done for me, he's really changed my life quite drastically. There are so many times where there have been many things that I've been through where I'm just like, yeah, I don't know how I would have gotten through any of that without Jesus by my side.
Having Jesus be the center of my life and my focus has really changed my outlook on life. It's given me peace and hope that my stock isn't in just what will happen in this life, but where I'll spend eternity with him. And the fact that I can have joy no matter my circumstances.
With God in my life, I grew out of the circumstances. I didn't become an angry or bitter person because of what my mom said a lot back when I was a child. I didn't allow it to change me as a person. I used it, and yes, it hurt me, and it dictated some of the choices in my life that I made and how I felt about myself.
Yeah, so that's the fun thing about being a Christian, is that the Lord really calls you to leave your old life behind. And so when Jesus really entered my story, I had gotten into some pretty bad habits that I really didn't want to let go of, like really heavy drinking and sleeping around, and those things were really hard to let go of. But Jesus really just assured me that through the story in John 4 with the woman at the well, that he is so much more than anything on this earth could provide. He uses the example of water and uses the example of him being the eternal wellspring of our soul, that he really fills our deepest thirst and our deepest hungers with who he is and what he promises.
He's definitely given me peace, even when things may be hard to give up, or something that I may not be expected happens, or I go through a trying time. He's always there, and I trust him with my life, and so trusting that he has everything in control has given me a huge amount of peace.
It's hard, honestly. I think every time God shows me how I'm not loving him, I always doubt that he's enough, And every time I, in faith, say, okay, God, you say that you are the thing that can satisfy me. I'm gonna choose to give up this thing to follow you. It's usually hard at first, but it ends up giving me so much life, and it really does satisfy. Like, he does not let me down ever. So it's usually hard at first, but he always, he's never, his word, what he says is never fails. It's never wrong.
He was able to comfort me and help me to really let go of some of these things that I had held on to for so long. I had a habit of bottling things in and then it coming out all at once. And Jesus helped me to really feel comforted by him, and him letting me know that I don't have to hang on to that. He's already carried those burdens, and I don't have to walk around pretending that I have to do it alone. I tried that and it didn't work very well.
God really does love you. He really does. And not in just that way where, you know, you're with your best friend, you're like, oh, I love you, or, you know, you've been dating this guy for 3 months and, oh, I love you. No, like, it's really a true, perfect, righteous love.
Don't wait to get to know him personally. Don't wait to have your act cleaned up, because we'll never have it all together. But the amazing thing about Jesus is that he doesn't wait for us to be perfect, and that he made us perfect through his sacrifice on the cross, and we can have ultimate fulfillment in him that won't be found anywhere else.
I'd want them to know the word grace. Grace means a gift we don't deserve. And I think that's an important word because it highlights the fact that we don't deserve God's love. Like, I think we all think we deserve it. You know, we're good, we do good things. But the truth is we just kind of ignore God most of the time and really do whatever we want to do. But the gift we don't deserve is Jesus. And Jesus, he makes a way to God that we couldn't get to God without him. He dies in our place, and so that we're forgiven, and that God can be a God of justice by not letting wrong go wrong, not be punished. But he also can be a God of love and forgiveness because of Jesus takes the justice that we deserve. And so that idea of grace, a gift we don't deserve, I think is something that was really pivotal for me to understand.
God is always there. Whether you're sitting in your dorm room stressing about homework, or you're looking at your bank account wondering how you're going to pay the next student loan payment or the next car payment or a bill. But God, it may feel like you're alone on this earth, but you aren't. God is there no matter what.
Well, there's this verse that's really been impactful for me lately. It's from Psalm 27, actually. Psalm 27, verse 10, that says, though my mother and father abandon me, the Lord will take me in. That's my favorite verse because my parents were never really emotionally there for me with everything they had going on between each other. And just knowing that the Lord didn't just take me in when I was older, but he was always taking me in, and he continues to take me in no matter what continues to happen, no matter how many times my parents may reject me or abandon me. The Lord continually takes me in and calls me home, and he calls me his daughter.
My favorite verses are Ephesians 2, 8, and 9. For it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not of yourself, it is a gift of God, not by works, so that no man can boast. Because it really just reminds me that I was never good enough on my own for Jesus, but that through his sacrifice, through his grace, that he forgave me for all my wrongs, I can know him and have a relationship with him personally.
My favorite verse in the Bible is 2 Corinthians 12:9. It says, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in your weakness. And I love that verse because I feel pretty weak most of the time, like I'm not able to do things, and it says that God's power is made perfect in my weakness, that when I'm weak, God can be more seen and more glorified. So like, yeah, if anything goes well, it's because God is good, not because I'm strong. And so in my weakness, God can be made known, God can be getting glory. It's just so hopeful that even in my like bare minimum ability, he's able to do great things. So I think that's cool.
Oh, now that's a hard one. I grew up loving John 3:16, a very, very used verse, but I really like a verse in Romans. I can't remember the specific verse, but it says we've all fallen short of the glory of God, but God still loves us. And Romans is very powerful in that it calls us out on our sin and gets us to realize we're liars, we cheat, we lust after things. We're not all perfect and we're not clean. We're far from that.
Okay. Yell your truth, share your story.
Hashtag yell your truth, share your story.
Hashtag yell your truth, share your story.
Hashtag yell your truth, share your story.
Son